Today's review is the S-Lab Ultra 2s. Welcome to another edition of Steve the Beard Reviews. What have we got today then? The Salomon S-Lab Ultra 2s. These are what Salomon class as their elite trail shoe. As always, Salomon, brand name, S-Lab, because that's their elite level shoe. Ultra, because they're meant to go over that distance. And 2, because it's the second edition of this particular shoe. Key facts about the shoe then, there's an 8mm drop. I weighed this one at 347 grams. It is a size 11, however. It's also one of their lightest shoes. It's not their lightest, but it's one of their lightest. The cost of this is about £160 as it currently stands. It's on the more expensive side, but it is their premium elite level shoe. I've currently done just over 250 miles in these. I also, in shoes, I am normally a 10.5. I did have to go extra half a size up in these. Other Salomons actually normally get away with just going in 10.5. With these, I have had to go up to 11. So if you do buy these, you might have to just go up that half a size extra.
Right, let's get straight into them.
Firstly, the sole. Where do we start? The sole that they've actually got on these, they call it the Conti Grip sole.
Conti Grip.
Get it grip.
What I have found with these is that it's just super sticky. It's like almost like having glue on the bottom of the sole. It's just tacky, but not tacky in a bad way. Tacky in a tacky,
sticky way.
It has a dual density EVA foam, which is quite firm but responsive. And actually, in a trail shoe, I personally feel that I do want not as much bounce or cushioning in a trail shoe, because you want to really feel that trail. What these do really well is give amazing underfoot protection. They've got this rock plate in there. That's actually the rock plate. I don't know if you can see it in there. And even though it is a rock plate, so it withstands the rocks, the roots, it's also slightly flexible, so it doesn't feel too hard when you actually are running. Whereas some rock plates can actually just change the feel of the shoe, and it's almost like this is just one big plastic shell. But with this, there is still a lot of flex, and you still do get a lot of the feel of the trail, but it gives ultimate protection at the bottom. It really does give you the confidence over rugged surfaces. And I would say that these are definitely best in class for protection on the bottom of the foot. They have these diamond shaped lugs. If you look, they go one way on the forefoot and one way on the rear foot. When you are going downhill, the rear actually help you to brake going downhill. And when you are going uphill, they're angled the other way to help you grip as you're going uphill.
Oh.
Even though the sole is brilliant, and it is brilliant, and it is sticky, I think if you're running in the UK as I do, and you're going over fields where you just need that extra bit of lug on the bottom, sometimes the fields can get particularly boggy, and the 4mm lug sometimes just isn't quite enough to give you that confidence. You may want to opt for something like a Speed Cross, the Salomon Speed Cross, where they just have that extra bit of lug. I think there's 6mm lugs on them, and they do give you that extra bit of confidence when you are going over the muddier territory. However, the soft rock plate, the super sticky grip, it almost reminds me of back in the day when you used to watch those Continental grippy tyre commercial, and you just see the tyre just grip into the road. That's the feel that you do get in these in almost any condition. The sole is relatively thick actually for an ultra shoe, thicker part being 26mm in the heel, which is good for heel strikers. I am a heel striker myself, and it does take a lot of the cushioning from the heel striking when you're going over difference in conditions or difference in terrain. Actually the foam in this does really help you. even though the foam is quite thick, doesn't ruin the ride at all. I am starting to also show little bits of wear as well, and you can see just on the back of the left shoe, which is odd. If I get wear on shoes normally, I do find it is around the heel area because, like I say, I am a heel striker. But it does seem to be on both shoes. However, on this one, it just seems to be more on there. And again, like I said, I've only done 250 miles in these. They are on the expensive side. That is slightly concerning. But if we're talking about where do I start? See what I did there? Where
do I start?
I will come back to the mesh upper in a minute. Other points that I love is sock-like EndoFit interior sleeve. It actually, I don't know if you can see it, but it actually just wraps around your foot. It's like a sock when you put these on. It's very, very thin here, but even though it is thin, the material that they've used is amazing. Again, the heel, it's quite flexible, but it's firm, almost just what you need it to be. The toe box is very narrow, which is good for me because I have got narrow feet. And when you've laced these up properly, the whole shoe just hugs your foot together. Does make you feel very, very secure. You normally go for a wider fitting shoe. These might be slightly restrictive for you because they are quite narrow. Now onto the laces. If you've never used a Salomon and you've never used the pulley system laces,
you've never lived.
I can remember with my first pair of Salomons and I was thinking, what the heck is this? I'm not gonna get used to it. But actually, once you do get used to the pulley system, it's just so easy. That's it. It locks your foot in place. There's no messing around or faffing around with the laces. And then also another point is,
you just pop it in the little pocket there.
Doesn't get caught, doesn't flap about, doesn't get caught on tree roots, anything.
Put away, locked away.
The amazing thing is, once you've done it, you just don't have to worry about the laces for the rest of the race, which lets you worry about other things like, I don't know, bears or wolves or cows. You're not going to move? Come on. There's also a rubberized toe bumper and also rubberized from here all the way round, which actually stops any protruding twigs, tree stumps, whatever, into the sides, which is helpful. And the toe bumper is actually pretty thick, so actually stops any unwanted rock bumps.
Protecting those toes.
I didn't actually try the first edition ones, but I did hear that they actually had these wings, they actually had two of them, and the second wing actually used to rub against your foot and cause hot spots, so they've done away with it in this one, and they've just got this one here. Does it need it on this one? Could they do without it as well? I feel that it's there to help pull the foot in and hold your foot in place, so I feel like this one actually does its job quite well. It's a highly tuned fit, it's a firm ride, not as spongy as something like a Hoka, but extremely responsive. And I feel you want that responsiveness over an even trail. Now on to the bad point, that hole.
That big gaping hole.
I actually did that on a 50-mile ultra that I ran in. So that was probably maybe even 100 miles less out of this shoe. So I'd only probably got maybe 100 miles in this shoe at that particular time. It is on both shoes. It's the only shoe that I've ever had that's ever done that. And it just seems to be this part of the mesh there just isn't that great. I am starting to also get some breakdown in the sides as well. And it is just this meshy stuff. It's very light, very comfortable, but that's the only thing that is slightly concerning is the holes. I do tend to raise my toes up as I run, but I've not had it in any other shoe ever. Also on the laces where they go through the eyelets, there is starting to be some wear on that. And you kind of feel for a shoe as expensive as this, £160, for this bit of wear, I mean, okay, that wouldn't stop me. I would be really miffed if that came and ruined. I mean, that's an eyelet. It shouldn't really happen in 250 miles on a shoe like this. However, I do love these and I wouldn't let that put you off buying them, but you feel for £160, those kind of things are a little bit concerning.
Now that brings me to the pros and the cons.
Pros.
Sticky
sole.
light feel, amazing foot protection, and that's for the bottom of the foot, the side, and the toe box. Super responsive, and I don't know if it's just because they're called Ultra, but when you put them on, you do feel like you can go forever, and you feel
Like you want to run an Ultra in them.
See, the quality of them is amazing, but also naff in some places. So the quality of the sock, the quality of the sole.
But not the quality of the mesh at the front.
Now on to the cons. The price. I feel for these bits of quality that are letting it down, £160 is expensive. The narrowness, if you are slightly wider footed, especially if you are doing ultra distance, obviously naturally your foot is going to swell over that kind of a distance. The narrowness could cause a lot of people issues. Then the last thing is just the wear. I hate to say it, but the wear is kind of unacceptable for this price of a shoe. I do love these, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like those parts just do really let them down. In conclusion, if they're good enough for the elites,
They're good enough for me.
S-Lab Ultra 2s. The next review I have for you is the Salomon Speedcross 5s.